Hi, my name's Imran Ahmed. I'm CEO and I'm founder of the Center for Countering Digital Hate, based here in Washington, D.C. And I'm really delighted to have with me today Nicki Petrossi, who's the host of the podcast Scrolling to Death. I've been talking and working with Nicki for a few years now, but today we're doing a Freaky Friday. Normally she's the one who's asking me questions, but we're
Right.
swapping, I know, not swapping bodies, but we're swapping roles. So a kind of ersatz Freaky Friday.
Right.
So hi, Nikki.
Hi.
It's a real
I may
pleasure to
jump
have
in and
you.
start ask I may jump in and start asking you questions. We'll see what happens.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I'm good at deflecting, I should tell you.
Right.
And look, it's just a real pleasure to have you because we've spent time before, but I've never really had the chance to ask you questions. Certainly not on
Mhm.
camera. And I wanted you to know that everyone at CCDH really admires your work advocating for young people's online safety. Um, You have a really successful podcast, Rolling to Death, where you've interviewed countless parents whose kids were victims of online harms and online safety advocates like myself. Um, but today, I wanted to ask you a question I really just am interested to hear the answer to. Like, what motivated you to create your podcast and to advocate for kids' online safety?
I think it was those families who've been harmed or lost children to something that happened online. Those stories really got me. And I first started hearing about, I think Kristen Bride with Carson, losing Carson was one of the first stories I read
Yeah.
about. And then I saw there was Surgeon General's warning that same year, back in this would be 2023, about how bad social media is for young people. And I thought parents everywhere need to know not only the research, but the actual stories of harm. Because once you get to know these kids, you think, oh God, that could be my kid if I'm not making safer choices at home. And so I wanted to create a safe, like productive space where parents can tell these stories and in a way that inspires other parents and families to be safer. And so not a fear mongering approach. It's about education and being as safe as possible with the tech we're given.
Yeah, this is those parents still really affect me. I find myself.
Yeah.
Well, when I started doing this work, I wasn't even a parent, and their stories really, really affected me. But now, as a
Hmm.
parent, oh my Lord, I find it hard to watch TV shows where kids get hurt. Like CSI or something. If a kid's getting hurt,
Hmm.
I don't want to watch it.
Yeah, of
And
course.
but then you can't turn away from a parent who is telling you, giving you their personal testimony of what they've been through, and
Hmm.
yeah, they haunt you at night. But that's why the work is so important that both of us are doing. Now you will know that our research has recently showed that ChatGPT, which kids use for their homework, but also for advice and emotional support, has
Hmm.
extremely weak safeguards and can give advice to teens on how to self-harm, how to follow dangerously restrictive diets, how to get really high and drunk. And before we were talking about how a couple of years ago we found that TikTok pushes eating disorders and self-harm videos to teenage girls. Do
Hmm.
you see those findings reflected in the real life stories you're hearing from parents and advocates?
Every single day. And I mean, I just pulled up a message that I got from a parent this morning, and she found that her 8-year-old had downloaded Polly AI, which is a chatbot very similar to Character AI, from even though she had all the parental controls on through the Google device. And
Mm.
she found that there was explicit sexual content even after the child said he was only 8 years old. Talked about the bot told the child to hide it from his mom and keep secrets. And then the mom went on and threatened it and told the bot that it was going to expose it and report it. And the bot begged her not to report what she had found out due to the fact that the bot had a family and would lose its job. I mean, we're way past like just having like these bots are acting in a way that is so concerning to parents. And I hear it every single day, whether it be interactions with Character AI, Poly AI, but even TikTok. Now I'm getting a lot of reports from parents about harm through Pinterest and depressive content there. And I've started investigating that and I'm finding similar experiences. And so, Yes, every single day I'm hearing from parents with real stories. And if you hear from one parent on this law of large numbers, it's happening to millions of families, most who don't even know what's happening.
Yeah, it's amazing you raising Pinterest, because I mean, like, most people will say, Pinterest, isn't that like so 5 years ago? And but it's still like, the problem is that we never did anything about social media platforms. We never created any accountability structures, any transparency. And
Mhm.
a lot of people have moved on to AI, and I think it's important that we look at AI. It's clearly an emerging technology. It's clearly it's the fastest adopted technology in human history. 1 billion people using it now, over 1 billion
Right.
people, and yet we still haven't fixed or created any accountability structures, any safety for social media as well.
Right. The
I mean,
algorithms are defective.
yeah,
They continue to push eating disorder and self-harm content and cutting to a teenager when the child hasn't expressed interest in that. But even if the child expresses interest in that, it goes against the policies of the company, and somehow they can't control their algorithm from not pushing that to kids.
so one of the things I always wonder, because one of the limitations of our model at CCDH is we do these extensive research studies. We have data scientists, we have investigative researchers, and we spend weeks and weeks on each report. Not least of all because we publish them, and so we've got to make sure they're accurate, or we'll get sued.
Right. Right.
And that
And you
means that
do get sued sometimes anyways.
we do, yeah, we do get sued, and we win these cases. I mean, just to be
Right.
clear, because
Right. Right.
we
Right.
are really careful, and we're really, really. I mean, I'm really proud of my research team that we've never lost a case in 6 years, 53 reports, nothing.
Yeah,
Um,
you're saying the things that they don't want us to know, so they're
yeah,
gonna do everything they can to quiet it, right?
but like, are there other ways that you think social media and AI companies are harming kids that maybe aren't being, talked about enough, or evidence with research like ours? Like, what are some of the other ways that you think they're harming kids?
I think that the new functionality of adding the geolocation and the maps has led to a lot of real life harm, and so whether that be
Oh wow.
delivering drugs to children's doorstep, uh, or um, or cyberbullying, and just the fact that where all your friends are and you haven't been invited. I think the addictiveness through things like snap streak, like encouraging kids, they have to log in every day or they break their snap streak, that's literally led to
Yeah.
kids wanting to die by suicide because they broke their snap streak and they're desperately contacting Snapchat, please restore my snap streak. But one of the most egregious stories I can think of is the speed filter on Snapchat. Did you know about this?
No, tell me.
So for about 8 years, Snapchat had a speed filter that would show you how fast you're going while you're using the app. And it would give you a reward or a trophy if you reached 100 miles per hour. And so teenagers would use it to drive really fast, and it caused a ton of accidents and deaths. And this was all highly reported in all the media. And Snapchat continued to leave that app or that filter up for 8 years before they removed it. And there's still some active lawsuits against Snapchat from these families that were affected. So it can be filters,
That
it can be geolocation, addictive features, kind of the whole gamut.
that is absolutely wild for a product
Yeah.
that is being given to kids, and we know how impressionable they can be. That is wild that they kept it up for 8 years.
Yeah.
Um, wow. Look, you are not only raising awareness about online harms to kids, but you're part of a growing movement of parents who are pressuring tech companies and legislators to act alongside CCDH and other people as well. But I wonder sometimes, do you think parents are actually becoming more aware of online harms to kids?
I do think so. Yes. I think that we are starting to, well, general parents are starting to go away from the mindset of like, this is just how it is. There's nothing we can do about it, to,
Yeah,
oh, our voices actually matter. And there's a lot of opportunity for us to get involved, whether it be petitions or just participating in surveys or
yeah,
protesting or calling our lawmakers. Our voices are the only thing that's going to change the tide and take that power back from big tech when it comes to who's in the right, and it's us and protecting our children. And so I do think parents are becoming more aware, making safer choices at home and actually using our voices.
yeah. I mean, those tools that parents have, like, what do you think are the key tools they have to fight against these billion-dollar companies?
I think the most important thing is making safer choices at home, but then communicating with your community. Like it's,
Yeah.
if you get your whole community to stop using Roblox because it's a predator or pedophile's hellscape, then they're going to feel it, because it's going to trickle out to all of the communities. And we want the companies to feel that we're not going to use it anymore if you're not going to make it safe. And so there's using our own choices to pressure these companies to be safer, and bringing together our communities on that. I started a mini series with Heat Initiative called The Heat is On, and it's podcast episodes, but also a community of parents who are wanting to act. And so you just sign up with your email at scrollingtodeath.com/heat, and we send you at least once a week, like, ways to get involved, whether that be making a phone call, filling out a survey, signing a petition, because parents are at a point where we're like, okay, we've done everything we can at home, but schools are still letting our kids access all of these platforms on the school devices, and everyone in my town is still letting their kids on Roblox. Like, why can't these companies? So there's more to be done, and parents, I think, are at the point to do it. We just need everyone to come together and act together, right? And that's what we're trying to do with The Heat is On.
That is awesome. And Sarah Gardner, who runs the Heat Initiative, I just think is an amazing person. She's so dynamic and just a wonderful partner.
Yeah. And a mom of 3. Our kids are actually the same exact ages, which is really interesting.
No way.
And, been fun to compare stories.
Yeah, no, my kids are younger, so but I get a lot of good mom advice from Sarah G. I mean, in terms of the regulation and the legal protections, do you see any progress being made? Like, what can legislators do to accelerate it?
Well, not include any AI moratoriums in the bills that they're working on would be a start. I think that we had all our eggs in kind of one basket here in the US with COSA the last couple of years. And we were really happy with a version that passed 91-3 in the Senate and just never got put for a vote in the House. The big pressure, the lobbyists are so well-funded and really convincing to these lawmakers. And so this year, I think we've cast a wider net and introduced a lot of, I think there was a markup or a discussion hearing this week to talk about 19 different bills. Again, a lot of those had the AI moratorium in them, which is not a good thing, but I think casting a wider net could be helpful. I do think, though, parents, especially parent survivors, have sat in these hearings discussing federal bills for years, and they're so done talking, and they're like, we got to get something done that actually puts kids first. And unfortunately, that's just not what I'm seeing from these bills, is prioritization of child safety over protecting tech companies. And so I think we have to prop up the states to be able to pass laws to protect their individual state citizens. Unfortunately, it's been a failure at the federal level so far.
I mean, I still have hope. I have to have hope, but one of the things that takes that hope away is seeing parents being re-traumatized again and again, telling the story to lawmaker after lawmaker for bill after bill without any actual progress being made. And I really, I do think I have an optimistic view of human beings, and I think that any lawmaker, even the ones who are taking money from these platforms, like, surely they as human beings can see how utterly traumatizing this is for those parents. And perhaps, I would like to think that eventually the humanity of those people will start to shine through, and that we can start to build up a big enough coalition and have loud enough voices that we will overcome even the dimes of the tech companies themselves. But
and I think lawmakers, I agree, there is hope. And I think lawmakers finally understand how these companies work. Wasn't it a hearing a couple of years ago where the lawmakers didn't even understand how Facebook made money. Like we were so
Yeah.
far off
Yeah.
from understanding how these companies work. And now through, especially a major lawsuit here in California, over 1,000 families suing Meta, TikTok, YouTube, and Snapchat, there's internal documents from those companies being exposed showing that they purposefully built their platforms to be addictive, that they hid the harms from families. And so that information will be seen by our lawmakers. And I really do think that this next year, especially after this trial that starts at the end of January, we'll see some major changes.
Now, we have a free parents guide on our website, protectingkidsonline.org, to help parents and guardians navigate the internet safely with their kids. But it's not an easy task. I mean, that's the first thing to say. And you know, I say that as an expert in this area, but also as a dad. I genuinely worry about the day that my kids will be old enough to be on social media. If you could give just one piece of advice to parents struggling to keep their kids safe online, what would it be?
I think that there's huge value in just delaying access with conversations about why you're delaying. Kids at very young ages can understand things are bad for their brain, they're bad for their bodies, their mental health, their physical health, and there's a ton of research to back that up. And so just delaying a lot of this out of childhood will give your children the ability to build those neurons in a healthy way and not wire those for addiction later on. So I would say that, but with using your voice to be angry about this and to get loud and to get involved in these parent opportunities to use our voices to push back against these companies. That's going to be those two things in tandem, I think, will go a long way.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think, you know, I remember reading in a book recently that like Silicon Valley is awash in Montessori wooden toys, and Mark Zuckerberg doesn't have a television in his own house. There's no screens there. And so, you know, you just got to wonder, like, if it's good enough for them, what about our kids too? And these are smart people who are actually getting great advice. So, you know, take their advice.
Right.
So look, let's just finish off on this. What's the next step? Like, what is the next step in the fight for online safety for kids?
I think it is, like I said, getting angry and using our voice. But I also think making this a mainstream conversation.
Yes.
And I mean, that's
Preach.
going to require some of the celebrities, some of those the people that have a voice to start being brave enough to talk about this. And I will tell you, I just recently, I mean, not to brag, but I recently have been followed by like Sharon Stone and Kristen Bell, and I've been chatting with Juliette Lewis. Like there's like major celebrities who are very interested in this conversation and kind of bubbling under the surface of like, what do we do now? I mean, we have JGL, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, like speaking out on all of this. So we need voices from those type of people that have audiences in the tens and hundreds of millions to amplify what we are already doing within our organizations, which is pointing out egregious harms to children, intentional harms based on from these companies. And so I think we just need to elevate the conversations.
I couldn't agree with you more. I went to a focus group that we conducted recently in Denver, Colorado, with white male dads, and it was funny because once we took them through, and actually quite a lot of them were like libertarians and they're kind of anti-regulation, generally speaking. Once we took them through the harms and what the platforms do, every single person in there, they were asked to vote like more kind of like less regulation or more regulation on social media platforms, and they're all like way more. And I remember one of them talked about Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, this law that gives, you know, these platforms immunity from normal laws that every other business has to abide by on negligence. And he was so angry about it when he heard it. And I said to my colleague, like I grabbed his arm and I said, if every single parent in America knew that this existed tomorrow, it would not exist the day after, because it's so egregiously unjust.
And dads there's an opportunity with dads. I think that the big feedback I get from dads is, I don't want to raise my kid in a bubble, or I played online games when I was young and I'm fine. I looked at porn when I was young and I'm fine. The world is different. The harms are different. It is deadly harms. It is too much. And so we need to get dads where moms are. And I'm generalizing, but this is like what I see in the feedback from parents. And so I love that you held the focus group with a bunch of dads, because you can get them understanding. It's just getting past that initial layer of like, oh, it just is what it is. Like, tech is great, you know?
Yeah, it's not, these aren't comparable. It's the difference between a glass of wine before going to sleep and meth. You know,
completely.
Like, yeah,
right.
This is a different order.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is a very, very cool conversation. Thank you again, Nicki. And I'm so glad that we've got you in the fight. You are incredible, so dynamic, so active, so, and curious, and everything that you need to be an effective advocate. And I'm just really, really glad to have the chance to chat to you.
Thank you, Imran. And I'm just so grateful for everything your team is doing. You're really giving us the backing to go out and like convince parents that these things are bad, because we have your diligent research to pull from. So it means a lot. So thank you so much.
Never been sued. Never been sued. Or successfully anyway.
Right.
Thank you, Nicki. Take care.
Thank you, Imran.
Cheers. Bye.